Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kay, and this is the I Talk Back Sports Show. I'm joined by my co-host, my favorite friend, Jamal Bonner. Jamal, say hi to the people.
Hi to the people and hi, Kay.
Hi. Would you like to give a shout out?
Certainly, Kay. I would love to give a shout out to the original 88 for the Dallas Cowboys, Drew Pearson, for staying classy. He did show a little bit of disappointment, but the Hall of Fame has once again passed him over, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, Drew, you stay in the original 88 and stay classy. Kay, what about you?
Oh, I just want to give a shout out to all the people out there that's enjoying the show. Thank you for your support, and yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
So for a little bit of news around the leagues, in the WNBA, there has been a new CBA agreement reached, and it's somewhat monumental.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful for, the people, the women. They put in just as much work as the men, maybe not get as much notoriety, but it's important as well. So with the agreement, some of the highlights is maternity leave, an increase in the annual base salary from $117,000 or so to $215,000. Nice. And other benefits are the top players will earn a cash compensation in the excess of $500,000. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it is.
Isn't that great? Okay. You have any thoughts on this subject?
I am happy that there is progress taking place. I'm also very happy about the addition of the maternity leave. I think that this CBA is a bit more family friendly, as it should have been in the first place, and not putting these ladies into a situation where they have to choose between family and playing basketball. That this seems to be a lot more friendly to the understanding that no, it's not men playing, so you have to just don't, forfeit the ability to actually play because you want to have a family as well. So it's making strides. The compensation still needs to come up a little bit, but it is definitely an improvement over what it was.
Yes. So even though we think maybe not a lot of people are watching. Obviously, there are, and there's a lot of sponsorship going on.
Absolutely.
So it's a good thing. It definitely is.
Agreed.
I wish that sometimes the NFL players would kind of maybe hold out for some good stuff instead of agreeing to something and years down the road being upset because they're not treated fairly or treated right. But obviously the women got something figured out. Oh, so in baseball, one of my favorites, Jamal, some things went down the other day for signal stealing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Astros manager, AJ Hinch, and the president of basketball operations were fired for cheating. Not that they knew or could have known, they might have known, but just the fact that it went on under their watch.
There was, as I understood it, there was documentation that showed that they were well aware. So, yeah. And then add to it that Alex Cora, who was on the bench at the time for the Astros and then later on the bench for the Red Sox, he was fired on, was it yesterday by the Red Sox or was it Monday?
I believe it was yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the Astros there were a few penalties handed out by Major League Baseball besides the at first suspensions and then subsequent firings by their teams. There was a $5 million penalty assessed against the Astros. Oof. And they are to lose a couple of draft picks. And that, Kay, what I got some things to say, but first I wanted to ask you, what was your take on this as this is unfolding?
Well, when I first heard about it, and I thought to myself, wow, even though you think $5 million isn't a whole lot, but firing the president of the operations and two managers, I think that was really huge, because we don't get this all across all sports. You know what I'm saying? So I felt that they took this very seriously, and they should have, because it's a lot of people that were affected. Opponents were affected by it. They made money during all of this. I mean, to say that I won a championship, a lot comes with that. So I was very surprised that that they took such a strong stance against this. And what do you think?
So, Kay, I'm going to go and say that I don't feel that they took a strong enough stance. That in the NCAA, when there is violations or an ineligible player being used or something to that effect, let's go with USC, for example, that a Heisman Trophy was stripped and a championship was vacated due to using an ineligible player, Reggie Bush, as I recall. In this instance, you have cheating that cost another team, or that allowed a team to win the World Series, and then another team to win the World Series. That I don't understand why, one, no players have been suspended. Two, why haven't the World Series been vacated from 2017 and 2018? That there are postseason honors that were associated with the players that were involved in this. That hasn't been stripped. The Houston Astros can still make money and are still listed as these champions, but now there's not even an asterisk or anything along those lines that says, hey, they cheated to win this series and cheated who knows what else in terms of getting to the series. So where's also the deterrent? Okay, $5 million, which you did point out, it's not a lot of money. So where's the deterrent to prevent the next team from trying to cheat?
Well, I don't think there is a deterrent. The thing is to be slicker at not getting caught, or you'll lose your job. And that's pretty much it.
I think Major League Baseball management is full of it, and that's really I'm not a baseball fan, but I hear about the integrity of the game. The integrity of the game. Well, if you can't sit here and properly punish people for doing something as emboldened as outright cheating, where's the integrity? Come on, do better. All right, let's move forward and let's go talk about what happened Monday night in the Sugar Bowl, in the Superdome. LSU went in and they spanked Clemson. Let me ask you a question. Should this beatdown have taken place? I mean, was LSU that good and Clemson that bad, in your opinion?
I think Clemson, of course, was that good because they've consistently showed us that for their season. Clemson, I think they have a pretty strong defense, and they're just not as explosive as they needed to be against LSU. And that's all that it was, is explosive play after explosive play after explosive play. So, yes, the best team won, and if you show up for the beatdown, then you get beat down.
Was there ever any part of you that thought that, well, Ohio State would have made a better opponent?
No, I didn't think that.
There was some word on the Twitters that Ohio State fans thought that their team would have better represented.
Because people are never satisfied, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I understood. Yeah. I was very surprised at the thoroughness of it. That I thought Clemson really didn't make the adjustments that they needed to. They did not put enough pressure on Burrow, and they never. The other thing was the quarterback, is it Lawrence? I believe his
Yes.
last name.
Mm-hmm.
He just never could get in rhythm.
Yes.
He had so many overthrows, unfortunately, and that I think that that was a big part of the game, and it also took them out of their ability to run the ball.
Yes.
That when they did run, they ran successfully against LSU, but when you start getting behind like that, then you just have to throw.
Throw the
And
ball a lot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's unfortunate. The game didn't live up, I thought, to what I had hoped it to be. I really expected it to be a back and forth affair, and that it was the domination was just. I truly did not expect it. You?
I expected, of course, like you said, something maybe back and forth, maybe, going into the fourth quarter with more intensity than already thinking, well, yeah, we know how this is going to end. So, yeah, it didn't live up to my expectations from the way that I've seen Clemson play in the past. But hey, long as Alabama is not winning, I'm good with any outcome.
This is true. Couldn't agree with you more. So, salute to the LSU Tigers. Look forward to seeing you in Death Valley in September when the Horns come in, week 2 of the college football season. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah. Okay, so in the NFL, happy trails to both Antonio Gates and Luke Kuechly. Gates finished his 16th season with 8 Pro Bowl appearances, and he is first in receptions and third in yards and also in receptions caught. So, he's first in reception yards, third in well, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. So he's pretty good, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, man, Antonio Gates, he was just as exciting to watch as Kittle, maybe Jason Witten like 6-7 years ago. He was really good to watch. I had him when I played fantasy football. Man, I could depend on him.
Yes, indeed.
He was so dependable. Yeah, so kind of maybe overstayed his welcome for the past couple of years, but in his time, he was great. Kuechly is one of 5 notable players who have retired at age 30 or younger. A trend? Is that a trend? Could that be a trend? In 118 games, he's accumulated 1,092 tackles, 75 for a loss, 18 interceptions, and 12 and a half sacks. Kuechly was when he was on the field, you knew that the Panthers had a chance. You know what I'm saying? He was one of those guys just always going to the ball all over the field. Those type of guys I like. So happy trails to the both of them.
Yeah, Gates is a sure Hall of Famer. Without question. Luke is another story. Let me rephrase. I'm pretty sure he's a Hall of Famer. But Luke is a disturbing story in that what is probably forcing him at this point to retire are the concussions that he suffered. And that you pointed out is it there have been notable players that have retired before 30, and I don't think he's going to be the last. And I think that it's something the NFL, they need to address it, and that you're otherwise going to find that your players that used to play for 10 plus years, that those really aren't going to be that way anymore. And that while we're talking about a 16-year player, and that Brady has played for God knows how long, but on the defensive side of the ball, that smashing, that hitting, that it takes a toll. And that until we figure out what's going on with getting better helmets that are better protecting the players' heads, that we're probably going to see more of these early retirements due primarily in part to concussions.
Yes, I totally agree. And on the other side of the ball, returning for the 17th season is the Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald. Ah, boy wonder.
Uh, that old man, he is just a wonder. He's just a wonder.
Yes.
I've always wanted him on our team, but oh well.
Yeah.
So, news about former Cowboys defensive coordinator, and probably the last time we will mention this, Rob Marinelli, has gone or has been hired by the Raiders. And do I have this right? Defensive line coach or
He's a coordinator.
defensive
Yeah.
coordinator?
This might not be our last time talking about this. It just depends on how good or bad this decision is, and we'll find out really soon. And we will talk about it if it don't quite work out.
We never talk about the Raiders. That's all I would say. So, in other NFL news or NFL movement, the winning offensive coordinator from LSU, Joe Brady, is headed to Carolina to be their offensive coordinator. Strangely enough, earlier in the season, that he was approached by the University of Texas and was told that he was not going to leave LSU to be an offensive coordinator anywhere else. He was staying firmly put in LSU. Yeah, okay. We'll just move along.
Well, as much as I love the University of Texas, it's not quite the NFL.
How dare you? How
Speak the truth? I don't know.
How can you say such? Oh, oh.
Okay, and sources are saying that your favorite Cowboy coach, Jason Garrett, is interviewing or has interviewed for the OC job for the New York Giants. Jamal, how did he go from possible? He has a job head coaching for the Giants to, oh, maybe we just want him as an offensive coordinator. How did that change?
That is an excellent question. I'm not sure. That is a great question. I don't know how that happened. I think maybe someone in the Giants organization looked up and realized, wait, he doesn't know how to manage a game. So why don't we just not stick him with a bunch of responsibilities and let's give him something that he can handle. He's a coordinator in that regard, so let's roll with it.
Wow, it's amazing how that happens.
It really is. I hate that you pointed that out, but yeah, it's true. So let's go ahead and talk about playoffs and the happenings from this past weekend in the NFL. Yeah. So I have to admit that I was not ready and that I was wrong about. I'm going to slightly go out of order here. I, in a million years, did not see Tennessee winning this game, and I'm really just speechless. I felt like this was the Chargers in Baltimore all over again from last year. That once again, a game that Baltimore should have won handily. They let opponent come into Baltimore and just push them around and win. Just hats off to Tennessee. They won. Just was not expecting that. Kay, you're the one who said if there was an upset that this was the one you could see. What did you think?
Well, I was hoping for a more competitive game, and it was not that. And that's all that I ever want is for it to be competitive, especially this late in the season. Yeah, so it's very interesting, and we'll talk about it in a bit to see what they'll do next week or this week.
Agreed. I don't even know what to say. I'm really speechless about how that matchup went down. The other matchup that took place was the Minnesota Vikings handily losing, as expected, to the San Francisco 49ers. What did you think about this matchup?
I thought San Francisco was going to win. I mean, it's Kirk Cousins, so I don't know. I mean, I think he does great in the regular season, but not so great in the playoffs. And that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, the 49ers just ran all over them. Just nothing but running the ball. I think that Garoppolo threw for somewhere in the area of about 100 yards or just over 100 yards, but San Francisco just used the run game, and so that was the determining factor. And so they will be hosting the NFC Championship this coming weekend. The other two matchups, which were a bit more interesting, well, I don't even know if I want to say interesting. So let's start off with Houston and Kansas City. Kansas City spotted them, what was it, 21 points?
21 points.
They spotted them 21 points.
And they won by 20.
They rattled off, gosh, how many straight points was it?
A lot.
Yes, it was. The game opened with the Kansas City Chiefs playing hot potato with the ball. They could not hold on to it, and so there were points off of turnovers. And honestly, I was messaging you, and it's like, this is not happening. No, and that a button went off or something went. Oh, sorry, I know what it was. So there was a fake punt when Houston was up. An unnecessary fake punt deep in their own territory. They ended up turning the ball over. Kansas City scored, and then the avalanche just came. And, Kay, I'm going to ask you this. With that fake punt, and thus the rest of what took place in the game, if you were the owner of the Houston Texans, would Bill O'Brien still have a job?
Well, maybe Bill O'Brien is kind of like our former coach, and he's in the good graces of the owner. I don't know. I don't know like how many times he has to screw things up for maybe Houston to realize that maybe he's not the best fit. Mm-hmm. So I think they're suffering from what we have now been freed of. What do you think?
I had a knee-jerk reaction of he needs to be fired, the special teams coach needs to be fired, etc. And I'm going to give them a pass. I understand what they were doing, but I don't understand. For the special teams coach, I'll give him a pass. Bill O'Brien, you may be right. He just may be a little bit in over his head or just better as a coordinator because you rally back from this sort of thing. Even the first two touchdowns, you rally back from. And instead, it's not like Kansas City has a lights-out defense, but that you could only put up, 10 points on them for the rest of the game after you started off with 21 in the first quarter? No, it's not acceptable. So... And I'm not going to sit there and look at it and say Deshaun Watson was truly at fault here. You didn't give him much to work with. So,
yeah, enough about that.
Yeah. And finally, two teams that I don't care anything about, but who actually put on a fairly decent game. Green Bay and Seattle, with Seattle taking the L. Bye-bye, Sea Chicks. And Green Bay moving on to face the 49ers. What did you think about the game?
Well, going into it, as I said, I felt Seattle was at the end of their line, and they proved exactly that. It's hard to sometimes count Seattle out because they are they're savages. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not going to take no for an answer, and I love the fight in them. It's just they make a lot happen with less. They've given so many of their players have left, and they've reinvented themselves, and I'm kind of jealous of that for a little bit, because they make things happen with what they have, and that's a great credit to their head coach.
I'm going to agree with you on that. He coaches the heck out of that team, and with a considerably older running back who maybe has lost a half a step to something to that effect. I still love Marshawn, but come on. but they had opportunities, and they were just outplayed by a better team, unfortunately, at the end of the day, and a team that doesn't have holding penalties called on them, but it's neither here nor there. I would have loved to have seen Seattle pull it out, just to have seen round 3 with San Francisco, but 'tis not the case. So this coming Sunday, the championships of the divisions, of the conferences, excuse me. So, Kay, we start off with Tennessee, once again, traveling to Kansas City. Who you got?
I got Tennessee.
I got
Tennessee on the road. If Tennessee continues to run the ball, to do the things that Tennessee can do, not who anyone else can do, but just stay true to themselves, they will win in Kansas City.
I'm going to stick with Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to go with Kansas City to pull it off, and that it... I think that they win by at least 14 points. And in the other matchup, two teams that don't really care for, but I really do expect a good game from them at the end of the day. I expect
Jamal,
a game.
you know, I used to tote this flag, and the flag used to be like, I don't want nobody to win more championships than the Cowboys. You know, of course, Pittsburgh, but they're Pittsburgh. But I've let go of that flag, okay? Because if we can't help our own selves, I'm stopped going against everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because they need to do what they need to do. San Francisco on Sunday night need to go and take care of business and whoop Green Bay at their own house in San Francisco. It needs to happen. And it's going to happen, Jamal. These are surefire picks. Go take these down to your local convenience store behind the little thing. I'm telling you, vacation money.
All right, that's nice vacation money. My pick, however, is this. I'm going with Green Bay. And not just to spite you, because I actually think that Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and win this game and take them back to the Super Bowl, unfortunately. So I see a Green Bay win here, and that it'll be a rematch of one of the first Super Bowls, KC and Green Bay. That's what I got.
Okay.
So there was an announcement over the course of the past few days, starting on Saturday and going up until today. And it was and I have to read this, the 15-person centennial slate of the class of 2020 for the NFL Hall of Fame was revealed, and that the special slate enshrines consisting of 10 senior players who last played over 25 years ago, 3 contributors as either an individual other than a player or coach, and 2 coaches. And they were elected by a special blue ribbon panel during a meeting with the Hall of Fame. Now, this is not the actual normal Hall of Fame that we're accustomed to. This is just a special set of people who are going in. The 5 players for the regular Hall of Fame will be announced the Saturday before the Super Bowl. So that's coming up. The people we'll start with coaches, and if you'll just give me some thoughts or feedback on the ones that I read out that you are familiar with, that's perfect, okay? We'll start off with Bill Cowher.
Great choice.
Yeah, good choice. Yeah, former Steelers coach. Yeah, very good. Finally, Jimmy Johnson.
Great choice.
Yeah. I was very happy. Those weren't my face wasn't wet at all as he was being announced. We'll go to the contributors. Steve Sable from NFL Films.
The man with the voice?
Yes.
Yes. Love him.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I used to do all of my highlights using his voice when you play football with the little stick men. So yeah, Great
You know,
choice.
his voice came on, it just captured your attention. It's a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful voice. It
Yes.
really is.
Yeah,
Hmm.
changed the way that we watch football. So,
Oh yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Former Commissioner, excuse me, Paul Tagliabue.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I like Pete better, but okay. Um, George Young, who, yeah, is going to be before both of our times, who is going in as a contributor.
Especially my time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And so we will move to the seniors. And Harold Carmichael, who was a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Okay.
I am especially happy as someone who is unfortunately old enough to remember Harold Carmichael and how he would sting the Cowboys from time to time, but otherwise, the utmost respect for him, and that I'm glad he finally got his recognition. Jim Covert of the Chicago Bears. Good choice. Okay. Solid. Bobby Dillon, safety for the Green Bay Packers, before both of our time. Cliff Harris, safety for the Dallas Cowboys. I watched Cliff, and maybe it's because I saw him at the end of his career, so I have faith in these people in their choice of Cliff
I
Harris.
don't, but okay.
I'm not going to go against a Cowboy. So moving along, Winston Hill, tackle for the Jets and the Rams. That's going to be before our time. This is going to be an interesting one. Alex Kress, he was a defensive tackle. I thought he played for the Rams somewhere in there, but he was definitely played for the Lions. And if I have it right, he went on to star as the father on the show Webster.
Okay.
80s sitcom. Donnie Shell, safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Vicious safety. Great player. I don't know why it took them this long to put him in. Way overdue. Duke Slater, tackle for a number of teams almost 100 years ago now. So that's before both of our time. Same thing for Max Speedle, who appears to be an end for the Cleveland Browns. And finally, Ed Sprinkle for the Chicago Bears. Again, as noted at the top of the show, missing from this list is one Drew Pearson. So one of these years, Drew will hopefully get in. So, Kay?
You know, I think that it would, you know, I just don't like the way they do him. I just don't. You know, I guess he just doesn't have all the magnificent numbers, but he was in the right place at the right time a lot of the damn time.
Exactly.
In the best possible moments. So for that alone, put the man next year. Come on, hook him up.
Agreed.
Hook him up.
Someone else that needs to be... I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Someone else who needs to be hooked up, who's on the list.
Darren Woodson, yes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not.
I was actually going to talk about somebody who's on the list, who for some strange reason is actually going to go into the Hall of Fame before he is in the Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor.
The only other multiple Super Bowl winning head coach in Cowboys history is going into the Hall of Fame before the Ring of Honor.
So
Okay.
do you feel that maybe Jerry will right a wrong and put him in the honor? Ring of Honor.
I think hell has to freeze over first.
You know, Jamal, what I have to say is you see that, yeah, you can put the team together. You can pay the team. You can scout the team. You can draft the team. You can do a lot of that. But you also have to have a coach to coach the team. And that should not be downplayed.
Agreed.
After 20 whatever years. And he still hasn't learned that.
And after the last few years of our now former coach who couldn't coach his way out of a bag, but yet, he stuck with him. I swear to you, it's like you said to me. He's got to have pictures or something, and so that must have been the whole negotiations thing, as opposed to why he didn't just fire him at the end of the Washington game, because there's no reason he kept him this long. On a side note, an interesting little rumor that popped up late last week that ESPN may be trying to put together an offer to bring one Tony Romo over from CBS to ESPN. No word on if such an actual offer exists, and there is speculation that he would be in the booth for Monday Night Football to replace Booger McFarlane, or to be a part of what ESPN may hope to have in terms of a full slate of football games that they would take from one of the other networks. I know this is purely speculation, Kay, and that it's rumors, but when you heard about this, what's your take on it?
Well, I wasn't surprised because they were saying that after his contract, he was requesting so much money from CBS. So, okay, yeah, the competition has all the right to come in and make their offer, or alleged offer. I think Romo is definitely worth it. I almost enjoy him more as an analyst than a quarterback. He is a gem. He's very smart. He's all of that good stuff. And on a side note, why does everyone have a problem with Booger McFarlane? I mean, he definitely has a way of getting his point across. He's the type of person he will cut you with a sharp little knife, and you don't even know you're poked because he has an eloquent way of telling you suck. So I think that he is good and not as bad as people are making him out to be, Jamal. What are your thoughts on Booger McFarlane?
I think people are correct in how bad they make him out to be. I could not stand Booger. I really couldn't. I'm sorry. I have been hopeful. I was hopeful for Booger during the 2018 season when Jason Witten was in the booth, and he just wasn't cut out at that particular time. And that Booger had some really good insights from whatever that cart was that they had him on. But in the booth, that I don't know if it's just that and I forget the name of the play-by-play guy who he wasn't that great either, but I don't know if the two of them just weren't a good mesh together, but but I will say that when you say that there's the possibility that Monday Night Football could have Tony Romo doing the color, hey, my Monday nights just changed. I'm there to see him call these plays, and they not just be AFC teams or NFC teams that are having to be playing in it, like some real matchups. I'm looking forward to that. Now, next, if I could figure out some way, or actually, what would be better for me personally is if they could figure out some way to get Chris Collinsworth to just shove on off, and then NBC make a play for him and bring in Tony Romo. So my Sunday night matchups, because remember, Monday night is still, but your Sunday night matchups, those are the best games of the week for the most part, right? So if I could get Tony on NBC on Sunday nights, I mean, I'm dreaming, but I'm just saying, I'd love it.
Yeah, okay.
It is a good idea, and you need to be on board with it too.
I just want my boy to get paid.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Okay, so you want him to head to Frisco?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
No.
All right. So, Kay, we had a lot. I'm still mad about the baseball thing, but I'm going to let that go. What else you got going on?
Just staying alive. That's it.
I hear you. It's nice. It's nice and warm there.
Yes, it's warm. I mean, the air condition is about to come on like tonight.
What's an air conditioner? I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that until June.
Get you a wall unit or a window unit. Look it up.
All right, Kay. So that's all I had for this week, and We will be back next week with the results, of course, from the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship game, as well as some basketball. We are not necessarily neglecting it, but we are going to hit basketball hard for the next few weeks. So until then, follow us on the socials. And, okay, thank you very much. We will talk again.